Cheerio, bonjour, hello. So I apologize. I'm very short. I have to sit on the other side of the porch because it's too bright over there. Oh my goodness, how does he sit this low? We have these heat warmers on our chairs, but I sit on a bench. My bench must be higher. I mean, I almost feel weird. I feel like I'm 5'2". Oh my goodness. Okay. So, baby wise, I'm going to be flipping back and forth quite a bit. I apologize. I will begin by saying my opinion has completely changed on BabyWise. What Shannon Watts was doing was not BabyWise by the book. If I remember, I'll put a link. But you guys, you can go and look up BabyWise and find it yourselves. It's not anything. I watched 4 different women on YouTube talk about how to teach your baby into BabyWise. I will tell you the first thing I noticed from all 4. They were God-fearing women. And I don't care what you believe, but I don't think that we've ever heard about Shannon and Chris Watts going to church. Excuse me, I have a spot on my computer that's in my face. Uh, Chris talked, they said they were going to start, and I know Chris grew up going to church almost every Sunday, and I'm thinking that Shannon's family did, but maybe not as regularly. To you, it may not matter. To me, it does matter. However, okay, so the first woman, I watched a minute of her video and I just started commenting and commenting. I ended up having to go back and delete most of what she said, what I had said, because I didn't know about BabyWise. I only, I know about BabyWise because of our girl. Anyway, her video starts and she says, and if you hear crying in the background, don't worry, the kids are fine. And I started laughing and I was like, oh, goodness, hot dog, you are proving my point. But then she started talking, and this was the first woman I watched. Halfway through the second woman, I went, maybe I'm wrong. Third and fourth woman, 100% wrong. Shannon Watts was not doing BabyWise. I've already told you, I believe the house, the husband, and the children were props for her fake online life because she has to make you think life is stinking perfect if you're going to drop $300 a month on Thrive. I think I just said this recently. I always talk about Chris and Shannon spending $300 a month. No, they weren't. They were spending $600 a month for both of them. And I do know that at one point they were paying for it for Ronnie. Now, they may have only done Ronnie's initial subscription and then he took it over, but we don't really know. And I've never heard that Cindy or Jamie Watts ever tried it. But I think Cindy and Jamie Watts were a little bit more sane. Ronnie loved his son. I don't fault him. It's completely different father-son relationship. But okay. So, some things I've learned. I hope the sound is better. Let me know if me using my little AirPods helps or not. So this first woman I watched made a comment. Absolutely 100% do not start this until at least your baby is 1 week old, but until you've learned the differences in why your baby cries. If you're a mother, you understand. There's a different cry when your child's hungry and different cry when they're sleepy or fussy, just like your dogs. There's a different cry when they think a bad guy is at the door versus them barking because they're talking to Cody next door. Okay, here's a good one. Look, I'm not completely in order, so I will probably mess this up. I I became overwhelmed, and I have a note on this side I'm supposed to say before, but we'll get to it. Okay. So the very second thing this excellent Christian stay-at-home mother was, and I do not mean that disparaging. You do not have to be a stay-at-home mother to be an excellent mother. Not at all. Stay-at-home mom. If that's your choice and you are financially able to do it, then I think your children are better off. I was able to do it. I was a stay-at-home mom for about 15 years. And the kids got old and I needed something to do, so I went and drove the beer cart at the golf course and got free golf, by the way. Okay, get to the point. Number 2, the biggest thing about BabyWise. No drugs. Never, ever use drugs to put your child to sleep. She even said there's a, it's, what's it in turkey? What's it called? When you eat turkey, it has something that when the turkey is warm, I almost want to look it up. Milk has the same thing. Hey, just take a second. My stupid Siri hasn't worked all day today, and I've called him bad tryptophan, or tryptophan. I didn't have to look up. I've called him bad names all day. He's really making me angry, and he doesn't seem to feel badly about it. She says, do not even warm, if you're not breastfeeding, do not even warm milk up to get the tryptophan. The I believe it's tryptophan. You guys may not know, I'm not a doctor. I do have my Ohio State sweater and my Ohio State t-shirt, but I am not a doctor. So if it's tryptophan, whatever it's called, if it's not that, there is something that happens in milk and it only occurs when you warm it up. If you drink milk cold, this whatever it is doesn't happen, and so you do not get sleepy. But she says that if you're not breastfeeding and you're feeding your child formula, you wouldn't be feeding your baby under a year milk because the child can't really process it. But she says, do not warm it up. But there are parents or kids over a year old that still have milk and stuff at night. We all parent differently. I'm not going to badmouth it. But she says, do not heat it up because you don't want the child to learn to fall asleep because he's had the tryptophan or tryptophan. It's like you give your child a warm turkey every night, you know. Okay. Do not fixate on the schedule. She says, don't look at a clock for the most part. Understand. She said, if you put your child down, and no one ever says any times, if you put your child down at 6:30, because I don't see a lot of mothers putting their children down for the night at 6:30. But she says you must rely on what your baby is telling you. Remember, you spent the first week, 10 days, 2 weeks, and this is a Baby Wise from Birth book. You spent, they say, within 14 days, you are able to figure out your baby's cries. I believe that. I mean, I can remember when Joe, back when he was Joe, and we still acknowledge the penis, he cried completely differently when he was hungry versus when he was tired. And I completely remember that. But rely on what your baby is telling you. In the Watts world, I'm going to say at 6:20 or 6:25, they were walking upstairs. I can't remember if anyone ever talked about the girls brushing their teeth at night. If you remember it, let me know. The whole family just bought these really nice Oral-B toothbrushes, and it vibrates every 30 seconds. So you do it one quadrant, and you get your whole 2 minutes. When I was a kid, I had bought a 2-minute egg timer, and that's how they knew that the 2 minutes was up. But I go to bed at night, and my goodness, I'm exhausted. But 6.5 nights a week, I take that whole stupid 2 minutes and brush my teeth. What was the whole point with that? Don't even remember. Okay, so, excuse me. This is the good Christian woman. The most important thing about Baby Wise is to focus on your baby. Relax. Take a breath. This woman admits she was an overly stressed new mother. I believe she had 2 children very, very quickly, and she was freaked out. So, what did our girl do when she was freaked out? A little bird, uh, Sandy, no, Cindy. Oh my goodness. In a recent video, I referred to Cindy as Sandy, or Shannon, or Sandy as Cindy, and somebody freaked out, lost my mind. If you're going to post content, make sure you get the names right. Okay, babe, people get things wrong. I don't like to call people Karens. I think that's a little bit racist. So, Shaniqua, people get things wrong. Okay. I had said that because imagine if a Karen were called a Shaniqua. Oh my goodness, the world would be outraged. So, kids, don't use that Karen thing. That's tacky. call her a tramp or an idiot or a hoe. Don't. The Karen thing is 100% racist. Oh, here's something else this woman said. So I'm going to the next woman in a moment. But she says, okay, the original Baby Wise book said, well, I guess it can says, but it said it's going to take a, up to 2 weeks to get this process going. Shannon talks about Baby Wise, and she's proud and confident that she did it. She put her kids down, closed the door, and it was done, and she saw them in the morning. Okay, well, this woman says, absolutely not. I already said, you need to learn the difference in your baby's cries. But this woman says, you know, before you put them to bed, hold your baby as much as possible. Learn your baby. I don't see that connection between Shannon and Bella or Celeste. I'm talking to our friend Christina today, and she made a very interesting comment about the Christmas video. The girls were freaked out. Okay, when my oldest child, was, well, I guess now she was 8 months old or so. We went to the mall with 6 of my girlfriends to get the pictures with Santa, and I'm sure at least one child was hysterical, but for the most part, everyone was fine. When Santa comes to your home is your safe place. So if a stranger comes in, if the mailman knocks on your door to ask you to sign a certified letter, and, well, I guess you wouldn't really invite him, but your kid's not going to freak out. You are the adult. Excuse me. I apologize. And the child sees that you are not in fear. The child will not be in fear. Just like dogs. The dog barks, barks, barks. You open the door, you see Jeff the mailman. My mailman's name is Jeff. Hi, Jeff. Oscar stops barking immediately. These children were hysterical. They were in their own homes. But who was home? Santa and Mom. Christina thinks that maybe they were so hysterical because their security, their safety, their anchor, Dad, was not home. And they didn't feel safe. And I mean, oh my goodness, she said that, and I went, ding, 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 ding. I mean, that really, really hit home for me a lot. And this woman says that. This Baby Wise is not going to work if your child does not trust you. Says if you're starting Baby Wise and the child's in their room and you hear them being hysterical, go help them. Shannon brags so many times about, she did baby. I already said it. I closed the door and I saw her in the morning. And I don't know that she shook her head like that, but we know she had her big old boobies pushed up, my little A cups. I apologize. I don't know why I just did that. I'm sorry. But she had her boobs pushed up and showing as much as possible. Oh, I apologize. I mean, I almost need to blow my nose, but I can't do that on camera. This isn't a brag, but all of my children slept through the night before they were a year. I, Ashley, Ashley, breastfed until about 11 and a half months. Never had a drop of formula. And I can remember it was about 11 o'clock at night, and I was going to put him to bed for the night. And we had a little den outside of his room. And I was sitting in the rocking chair, and he didn't really want to latch on. And I apologize, gentlemen. I'm not trying to be vulgar. But I knew it was done because hours earlier I tried and he ate, but he didn't really like it. And that was the end. And I just remember how sad I was. I put him to bed, and I almost hoped he would wake up in the middle of the night. We all know that Shannon did not agree with that. Okay, here is something that was very, very, very important. Baby Wise absolutely will not work. Here, I'm Sarah Boom. I love him to this day. He'd been dead as far as she knew, 26 hours, but she loved him to this day. And yes, I'm getting my nails done this week. However, Baby Got Wise absolutely will not work if your child goes to bed hungry. Hmm. Can you think of two kids that were always hungry? What did they have for dinner? Butter noodles and chicken nuggets. They weren't having spaghetti or pork, broccoli, and mashed potatoes. They were not having real meals. Chris and Shannon fed their kids garbage, and then I assume after they drugged the kids and put them to bed, they ate a real meal. Who knows? Well, we do know. We know Chris was talking about eating grilled chicken and cauliflower and stuff. So they must have eaten a real meal. But these kids did not eat real meals. Think about the day that they pretended they were going to the zoo and Bella's walking around with marshmallows. Or, I'm hungry. Shannon, you want a laptop? No, no, mom. I'm stinking hungry. My goodness. The child must learn the difference between day and night. They speak of the room darkening curtains. They say it's not really good. But this book doesn't say put your kids to bed at 6:30 at night. So, I didn't write it down, but I didn't, how much sleep a child needs. And a child really, from what I believe I can remember, until 8 or 9, no, no, because David is 12. Up to 12 years old, they still need 12 hours of sleep per 24-hour period. Okay, these children were put to bed at 6:30 at night. And rumor has it they woke up around 7. She had them at school by 7:30. Remember, Chris packed the backpacks, made the lunches, everything. All Shannon had to do was put their clothing on and brush their teeth, or have them brush their teeth. So these children, and they had a 2-hour nap every single day. That was the same thing. That was a definitive. So that's 14 and a half hours. Even the little babies, there was not one list of age group that said they needed 14 and a half hours of sleep a night. That's was, first of all, they weren't getting attention. They were put online as much as possible. They were put online when they were upset. You think about Shannon had set up Facebook pages for each of these children. And I guess at whatever 12 or 14, she was going to hand them the password and say, look, I've saved your whole life for you. And Bella gets to go online and see herself trying to insert something into her anus. And Cece gets to go online and see the temper tantrum at Christmas and the poop, the diaper full of poop. Why would she posted so many inappropriate things? I say this all the time. Why her father didn't pick up the phone and say, sweetheart, you have a problem. I get why mom didn't. I didn't have a good relationship with my mother until my first child was born. She was in the delivery room. She filmed it. She filmed it from the side. So, I mean, it could be on national television. There's nothing vulgar, inappropriate about it. That moment changed the relationship with my mother. But still, my mother would have said, Floyd, your daughter is being a nincompoop and a lunatic. Pick up the phone. I had the same relationship with my father that Shannon had with hers, except my father was not an alcoholic until I was 21 years old. I don't even know what I just. Okay. Make sure you put the baby to bed awake. My former husband, I have a couple of them, third time's charm, they put their child in the car every single evening and drove that child around until he slept and then got home and got very, very quiet and walked in and carried him and put him in his bed. When that child entered my world as my stepchild at age 2 and a quarter or so, I nipped that right in the butt. I'm like, you're not getting in the car every night and drive. And we had 4 or 5 nights of drama. And then the boy just went to sleep. You absolutely do not, new mothers, or never, ever put your child in the car to put them to sleep. Okay. I didn't take excellent notes about this. She was saying it and it was making sense, but it was too hard to really say. But, you know, this Baby Wise teaches the parents the why and then gives them different options on how to complete the goal of your baby going to bed at night. She tried to explain it, and I can't really explain it, but she did say in her little plethora of words that no drugs, no drugs. This was a different woman. She didn't say anything about the tryptophan, but she said, but you never ever use drugs to put your children to sleep. Okay, I'm getting close. I'm sorry. So I also went online and read people. I read, the pros and cons of BabyWise or something. Well, this woman who quit BabyWise, they happened to put a little camera in the baby's room because they wanted to see what the baby was doing while he was crying hysterically. And their baby was slamming his or her head against the side of the crib. Okay, we don't have all that liquid around our brains when we're babies, so we don't bounce as well as children. That's why we have shaken baby syndrome and not shaken adult syndrome. Dudes are fighting and punching all the time. They don't have that. Well, because when you're an adult, you have built up the fluid that keeps your brain safe. At 3 months old, you have not. This possibly causes PTSD physically, not even the mental part. I fully believe Bella had PTSD. It was part of the reason she did not speak clearly for an almost 6-year-old child. Eh, I think Bella was terrified of her mother. Terrified. Cece, I don't have any idea. Cece was very, very much an extrovert and may have gotten through all of this. But Cece may have also been smart enough that she was playing her mother. Hey, there's Rudy. See Rudy? Playing her mother and thinking, shoot, if I can be in charge, I will absolutely be in charge. But all the research I read, I believe, okay, I'm getting to my very last point. I wanted to check it. I believe it causes issues. My very last point was a couple of shrinks said children who are under or raised under BabyWise become insecure because they don't feel like their needs are being met. And you think about that. That makes complete sense. If I'm upstairs in my room crying and no one from my family shows up, I'm going to worry. When I get a tummy ache, Oscar, the golden, he lies right next to me, never leaves my side. Here, right now I'm reading this National Geographic, The Genius of Dogs. I'm learning a lot about how dogs think and feel. Oscar would be devastated, and he is. If I'm not feeling well, which happens because of my health challenges, he doesn't leave my side. He stays right at the bed. He'll get up on occasion and put his head on the side of my bed. Rudy's a little different. Rudy follows me around like a stinking duck. But okay. If you have questions about BabyWise, I actually really enjoyed researching it. Write your questions below. If you're still watching, I'm humbled. I'm shocked. Thank you. If you'd like to buy me a coffee, the link is below as well. My email is below. So shoot me any, guys, I'm not on social media. I want these videos of our girl, and I don't want to steal from Neek's Peaks because for whatever reason she seems annoyed, yet I push her every time. If you know Neek's Peaks, tell her I wish her no harm. I enjoy covering her videos. Myself, Dr. What's Up, we don't want to watch, we want to listen. So if you know our girl Neek's Peaks, I don't mean that as offensive, Neek's Peaks, please. I didn't, sorry. Our girl, we know who our girl is. Be in touch with her. Take care. Thank you for watching. God bless America.